Hey everybody, welcome to our webinar training today on how to access emergency federal funding. We're going to get going here in just a few minutes. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Jen Ewell. I'm the director of the Women's Foundation of Montana. If you all could not share your video, that would be awesome because we have really limited bandwidth. So I'm going to be on and Susie's going to be on, who are presenting. But if you could kind of mute yourselves and also not share your video as we go, that would be really helpful. We're going to take your questions through the chat box. So if you have any questions at all, feel free to submit them through the chat as we go along. And Susie's going to answer those as we go. I just wanted to say a couple words about the Women's Foundation before we begin. So for those of you who maybe don't know the Women's Foundation of Montana, we're a statewide foundation that's all about economic sustainability for Montana women and a brighter future for girls. So we do grant making. We also do a lot of research and reporting and policy change work. And we also have a network called PowerHouse Montana that you can find at www.powerhousemt.org. PowerHouse Montana is all about connecting Montana women with mentors, resources, and opportunities. And so basically the Women's Foundation just kind of uses all the people in Montana who care about women and their energy and intention and their funds and gets that out to organizations and women so that they can be successful in the state. And we know that right now that's more important than ever. We're really excited to be able to offer this webinar today because we recognize that there's a lot of our PowerHouse members and others across the state who have small businesses, even nonprofits that are struggling, and there are resources available, and we want to make sure that you have what you need to access those. So that's kind of what today is all about. I'm also really thrilled to be able to introduce Susie. Susie Bridget White is out of Bozeman. She works with Prospera Business Network, and I think she's their head of business these days, which is awesome. And she has for a long time been the leader of their Women's Business Center, which is a partner of the Women's Foundation and does great work helping folks start businesses and make them successful in the state. Offers trainings for folks across the state, and in particular is just a real advocate for women in business. So thank you so much for being here, Susie. We're really excited to have you. Carry on.
All right. Well, it's 1:29, so I know we might have a few folks joining us. If you wouldn't mind muting your mic, that makes it just a little bit easier. Like Jen said, my name is Susie Bridget White. I am the Director of Business Development at Prospera Business Network over here in Bozeman. For the last 3 or 4 years, I was the director of the Montana Women's Business Center, which is a program of the Small Business Administration. And so I certainly know very well what most of you guys are going through as business owners and as women in this community. So know that we are doing our best to try to help each and every one of you guys get through this, and you know, working together with folks like the Women's Foundation, we're going to be able to emerge even stronger from this. I know this. So we are all Montana strong. So just to give you a little bit of background, I am a small business owner myself, and I also do business consulting, obviously, for Prospera Business Network. But more than anything, I've been working for nonprofits all my entire life. And so I have been spending a lot of time with helping nonprofits navigate this as well as all the other businesses as well. So know that I try to know a little bit of everything, which could be a little bit dangerous, but I try to be as helpful as I can be to all of you. So again, there will be time for you guys to ask specific questions about each loan program that I'm covering today. So I'm going to go ahead and get started since it's right at 1:30. And I'm like I said, here's my contact information if you need to reach me. And then I've also included my colleague's information at the Montana Women's Business Center, and that's Lexi Pressler. So we'll go ahead and move forward. So I like to start my presentations with this slide here. So keep calm and do your part. So why I mention this is that so many of us as business owners and nonprofit organizations, I'm really, really challenging all of us to really think about how we can be doing our part at this point. You know, can you pivot your business to do something different that is something that is needed right now? Can you be including content on social media and on the websites about how to reduce stress at this time, you know, making sure that people are being taken care of. I know some nonprofits, they aren't able to work right now, so they're writing personal notes and dropping off care packages for people that they know that really could use some help. So think about how your business can really participate in this and really helping our communities emerge from this even stronger. So I like to remind people, let's be thinking creatively about this. Now, before we get started here, I like to always just mention to people, it's important to understand how much money you need. Reason being is that I've got a lot of people who are calling frantically saying, I need to apply for these loans, I need to apply for these loans, but they really haven't done a couple things yet. They haven't updated their monthly financials, so they may be way outdated in terms of updating their QuickBooks files and things like that. So this is the time to get those QuickBooks files updated through at least January 2020, and I'll tell you why in a second. This is a good time to reduce those commingling of funds. If you've ever come and see me for counseling, you bet your bottom dollar I've told you to stop doing that. So this is the time to be done with that. This is also a great time to finish up your taxes, and I'll tell you why in a second. It's not that you will struggle to get these loans, but it's going to be helpful for the lenders to be able to look at your past taxes, and if you have your 2019s done, that's helpful. And it's good to have accurate information, especially if you're an LLC. So this is a great time. I know that they've extended that date, but if you can get those done, it's great to have that information done. And then if you're an independent contractor, make sure you've got proof of income. So those 1099s, things like that, that's super helpful. Again, just having financials is going to be the key to your success in all these loans and loans that might be forgiven in the future for you. So it's good to have all the documentation. Last but not least, it's a good time to do a revised 2020 budget. Here's why. If you're like me at Prospera Business Network, we make a lot of our money through program income and through membership. We also do other things like fundraising events, loans, all those things. Like for instance, if you're a loan client of ours, we have basically, we've changed things around so that people don't need to pay, you know, they're just doing interest only for a few months. And so all those principal payments that we would be getting, all those things, all of our financials have changed because of this. And so we're encouraging people to put together an updated budget to actually see what your need is to be able to make sure that you can make payroll, pay those bills, all those things by the end of the year. So I've got a tool there for you that helps you do cash projections, and it's a great time to do it. I actually have been doing mine about every week, just kind of revisiting my document, my budgets, and just seeing if I'm on track to meet those 2020 revised numbers. The next thing I like to mention is that making sure that you're connecting with your bankers. If you do not have a local banker, it's a great time to get one, and I can help you find one if you don't have one. I'm gonna talk a little bit about bankers in general. A majority of the credit unions in Montana are not able to process some of these loans, and I'll talk to you about that in the future, in the next few minutes about that. So you may have to end up switching banks at this point too. So I'll be talking more about that. It's also a great time to connect with your accountant, let them know that you're applying for certain loans programs so they can keep that in mind. And then personally, I like to make sure that people are reaching out to their financial advisors. There have been some changes with retirement accounts and things like that. And so it's important to kind of just check in, see how things are going with your account, see if there are any opportunities for you personally to take advantage of. And so I like to mention, just reach out to your advisors now. This is the time. This is why we pay them all year. This is the time that they're going to be helpful in helping you navigate this next part of the year for you. Now, the first thing I like to mention, simply because I work with so many business owners, I like to mention that there are a couple things already in place that you could be taking advantage of. If you're worried about cash flow right now and making sure that you can pay things, it's important that you work on getting a line of credit from a bank. A lot of businesses and nonprofits already have something like this set up. If you're like us, we actually ask for an increased line of credit right now just to make sure that we can handle all the ups and downs of the economy in the next fiscal year here. So I do recommend that people try to get a line of credit set up with their banker, and if they don't have one, get one or extend it. The next slide, I have been getting a couple questions on bridge loans, so I've included this slide on it. If you are a current client of a bank and you've gotten an SBA loan, there's a great chance that you'll be able to qualify for this SBA Express Bridge loan. It's not why most of you guys are on the call right now, but I like to remind people that these bridge loans are available if you're a current SBA loan client and you already have a loan set up with a bank. So I'm just mentioning that. We're not going to talk about this today, but I want to mention it. Now, here's why you all are here. We're going to be talking about the Paycheck Protection Program and the SBA Economic Injury Disaster Loans. I'm going to be moving forward calling them the PPP and the EIDL loans simply because they're a total tongue twister, okay? So this is a basic slide. I'm going to be going more in depth on both of these programs, but I wanted to kind of start off with a quick overview. With the PPP loan, obviously with eligibility, small businesses, sole proprietors, independent contractors, and self-employed, and private nonprofits with 501c3 or 501c19 designation. I am being very clear on this because a private nonprofit, for instance, Prospera Business Network, we're a 501c4 and we do not, we're a C4 and a C3. We pay, we do all of our payroll out of a 501c4. We do not qualify. So I like to be very clear about this because I've got a lot of people who are 501c6s, like a C6 is typically a chamber. So some designations do not qualify. It depends on where you are getting your payroll out of. So I want to make sure that that's clear. On your right-hand side, under the EIDL loan, anyone with a business less than 500 employees, sole proprietors, independent contractors, and private nonprofits, that's 501c3s, C6s, and then also the C19s qualify for that too. Moving down to the uses, on your left-hand side, the Payroll Protection Program is doing just that. It's going to help you with payroll for 2 months. And so payroll expenses, including benefits, and I'll be more clear about that in a second. Mortgage interest, let's say you bought your building for your business and you can actually get part of your mortgage interest forgiven, not the principal, but the interest. Rent and utilities, and then interest on debt incurred before February 15th, 2020. So that could be, let's say, your organization or your business. I'm going to use the term organization just to kind of encompass every single type of business that might be on the call right now. You know, like let's say you bought a vehicle for your business and you know, prior to February 15th, you can get part of that interest forgiven under this, because that would be a debt incurred before February 15th. Or let's say you bought a copier for your office, things like that, and maybe you're paying interest on it. Something like that would work for that. For the uses for the EIDL loan, payroll, fixed debts, accounts payable, and other expenses that can't be paid. To be very clear, they both say payroll. That is confusing people. Making sure that it can cover payroll, it just can't cover the 8 weeks of payroll that you're going to have covered under your PPP. That's going to make more sense in a few minutes here. Now the amount. For the PPP, you can ask for up to 2.5 times your business's average monthly payroll. And I'm going to show you that calculation here in a minute. You can ask up to that amount. So I've had people say, well, I don't want that much money because I had I had more people on payroll in 2019 than I do in 2020. That's okay. You can ask for less money. That's just your maximum amount. With the EIDL loans, you can ask for up to $2 million, and that's where that cash advance is coming into play. People keep hearing about that $10,000. It's confusing people a little bit, so I'm going to talk to you about that more in depthly here in a minute. The terms on the loans, as you can see, they're much different. With the PPP, the fixed interest rate is 1%, but there's no payments for the first 6 months, but interest does accrue right away. So let's say you apply, it's not all forgiven, it is a loan that you have to pay the balance off of in 2 years. And then the terms for the EIDL loan. Now, folks, if you have applied for this loan already, I've never seen money this cheap before. I'm going to be brutally honest about that as someone who's in lending. The interest rate on this is 3.75 for businesses, 2.75 for eligible nonprofits, no payments for the first 12 months. These terms are up to potentially 30-year terms. That is unheard of if you are in a business and you've gotten a loan before. Typically, your terms are going to be 5 to 7 years. These are potentially up to 30 years. So this is very inexpensive money for you to be getting. And I'll talk you through that a little bit more. Other information down there at the bottom. Let's see here. I'm right here. So any new loans under this program are eligible for forgiveness if the business maintains payroll continuity from February 15th to June 30th. I'll talk to you more about that here. And then over here, again, you're applying on your own for these particular loans, and it can be up to 30-year loan terms. The other thing that's not on this graph is that personal guarantee. If you've ever gotten a business loan before, you typically have to guarantee it with personal, with your, you know, like for instance, if you get a loan and you say, hey, I guarantee I'm going to pay this money back. Basically, even if your business closes, you still are paying this money back. In this case, they're asking for no personal guarantee over here and only a personal guarantee on $200,000 loans or more. But they are asking for collateral at more than $25,000. So I'll talk to you guys a little bit more about that as we go through the specific loan program. Now, the EIDL loan, that is the loan program that you apply for on your own through sba.gov/disaster. I am going to walk you through this application so that when you're doing this, you can actually open up the filming of this webinar later on the Women's Foundation's website. They're going to have it on their website and Facebook. You can actually have it open while you're applying, just in case you have any questions about this, okay? So here's the first page that you're going to see. As you can see, they're going to be asking about disclosures, business information, business owner's information, additional information, and a summary. If you have updated QuickBooks files through January 30th, 2020, this should be a breeze for you. You should be able to whip through this in less than 30 minutes. That's how long it took us with our Director of Finance. So it should be a pretty quick thing for you if you know what your financials are doing for you. So we're going to move to the first page. So first, you're going to choose from the top which one you are. So you're going to choose if you're an applicant that is a business with not more than 500 employees. An applicant is an individual who operates under a sole proprietorship with or without employees or as an independent contractor. Applicant is a co-op with not more than 500 employees. Applicant is an ESOP. Most of you are not going to qualify for that, so that's fine. Applicant is a tribal small business concern organization with less than 500 employees. Applicant is a business including an ag cooperative, aquaculture enterprise, nursery, or producer cooperative that is small under the SBA size standards, which is 500. Applicant is a business with more than 500 employees. And then applicant is a private nonprofit organization that is a non-governmental agency or entity that currently has an effective ruling letter from the IRS granting tax exemption under the sections 501C, D, or E. So again, you have to choose one of these up here. And then down below, you have to review and check all the following. The applicant must review and check all the following. Applicant is not engaged in any legal activity. No principal of the applicant with a 50% or more greater interest is delinquent on their child support payments. The applicant is not an agricultural enterprise. Applicant does not present live performances of nudity with nudity in it. Applicant does not derive more than 1/3 of their gross annual revenue from legal gambling activities. Applicant is not doing business in lobbying. Applicant cannot be a state, local, or municipal government entity and cannot be a member of Congress. So you have to review and check all those things, okay? And if you don't, then you most likely are not qualified for this particular loan program. Next page. So here's your business information. So you're going to have your legal entity name there, and then your trade name. Like for us, our legal entity name is Gallatin Valley Foundation. Our trade name is Prospera Business Network. So that's what we put right there. Here I'm entering in my EIN number in our case because we're a nonprofit. If you're a sole proprietor, you'll put your social security number right there. Here you're going to have a choice from your organization type. Even though I know you just kind of certified that you are an organization, you have to do it again here, and it will be a drop down for you. Here you're going to click if you're a nonprofit or not, and here you will click if you are a franchise. Now here, this is where you need to have those financials up to date. Here are your gross revenues for the 12 months prior to the date of the disaster. They're considering the date of the disaster of January 31st, 2020. So this is going to be January 31, 2019 through January 31, 2020 is going to be your gross revenues here. Here you're going to do the exact same thing for your cost of goods sold for that same time period. And then here, I'm getting a lot of questions about this because of rental properties. I know a lot of people have rental properties and they have forgiven some of those payments or have said, I'm not getting paid for those things. That's where you're going to put the loss there. And then if you are a nonprofit, this is where you're going to put your full nonprofit expenses for that 12-month time period. Next slide. If you're a faith-based organization, there's been a lot of clarification on what is a faith-based organization, and I'm happy to send specific information on that. I don't think we have any online today, but if you do, this is where you put in your information about your faith-based organization here. It's separate from the ones that were on the page before. Now here, this is where you need to disclose if you've received, Sorry about that. If you've disclosed if you've received any other grants or loans during this disaster. So let's say you've gotten a loan already, you just have to disclose it here. It does not mean you are disqualified. You just have to disclose it here. And then here you need to disclose the amount and then the actual organization that gave you the money. Here you're going to do your primary business information, the date your business was established. And then for nonprofits, for current ownership since, that date is typically on your 990s. It tells you when you actually got your 990 or your 501c3 designation. It should be right there on your 990s. Here you've got a business activity, and as you can see, it's a drop down right there for you. And then they're going to give you more questions about your detailed business activity, and it's another drop down. Oh, sorry. And then here, number of employees as of January 31st, 2020. So that is a very important box. It's actually the second most important box on this entire thing. Reason being is that I'm going to show you a little bit in the next few slides about that $10,000 advance, and people keep asking about it. Let's say you only had one employee on the books in 2019. You're going to put the number of employees there as of January 31st, 2020, and maybe you put one. The most you can receive in that advance is $1,000. What the SBA is telling me that it ends up being about $1,000 per employee, but up to $10,000. So if you had 10 employees, you hopefully will see $10,000. If you had 50 employees, you probably will at most see is $10,000. So that is what I'm hearing from the SBA in terms of that advance. So here's where you put your owner information. If you are a nonprofit, you're going to use an executive director or an authorized representative. An authorized representative's information to file as an agent. So let's say your executive director isn't interested in using their social security number, all those things, their birth date, place of birth, but someone else is willing to do that. Yes, you can definitely do that. And so that's the key here, is that you have to put in someone's actual personal information here, and there needs to be a social security number here. Reason being is that they're actually doing credit checks on these loans. And you should choose wisely who you're putting down here. What I'm seeing is that it's taking a long time for people to actually see money in their accounts. And in fact, I haven't seen anyone in Montana actually receive that money yet. But what I have seen or heard from people is that they've seen a pull on their credit score. So, or on their credit reports. And so that's why it's important that you choose wisely if you're a nonprofit who you're going to have here. But again, some basic information. If you're a nonprofit, put the ownership percentage as 0 here, and you're going to be just fine as applying. But it's just basically saying, hey, I'm applying on behalf of this nonprofit. Obviously, there are no business owners, but they still want you to fill out this information. Up here, is your business owned by a business entity? Yes or no? The key is here is that they're only going to let you apply. Let's say you've got an umbrella organization. You can't have both organizations apply on behalf of one nonprofit. There's no double dipping that can happen here. So that's why they want to check on this if you're a yes or a no, because they want to make sure that there isn't any double dipping here. This is that next page here about that business owner or the nonprofit executive director. They're going to ask for some questions here, and then actually you'll want to add additional owners for anyone with more than 20% ownership right there. So they're just following lending guidelines. Anyone that's an owner more than 20% needs to be included in this application. Now here we're already getting here to additional information. We're blowing right through it, folks. So here they're going to ask you a couple questions here. They're going to ask if you've been convicted of a crime, if you're debarred, if you have had any sort of criminal offenses. One question that has come up, if you have filed for bankruptcy in the past, but you're not, that is okay, you can apply if you filed for bankruptcy in the past. If you are currently going through bankruptcy in any form right now, you cannot qualify. So know that that is a question that's going to be coming up. And you'll see that in the self-certification, and that you will not be able to apply for this loan if that's the case. Now, if you've had an independent agent apply for this on behalf of a nonprofit or on behalf of your business, I've got some agents filling out this information, which are typically lawyers or accountants, things like that. That's where they fill in this information, and you're just kind of verifying that this is your work instead of someone from that business. And here, this is, I would like to be considered for an advance for up to $10,000. You have to check that box. Here, this is the other question I'm getting the most of, is that where to send funds. You're actually including your bank name, account number, and routing number information here. Yes, this is official. This is from the SBA. They are asking for this information to be able to put that advance into your account. So that is not fraud right there. I had that question a couple times. And here, this is where you're self-certifying yourself, saying that everything you're saying is true, that if your loan is approved, that you may need to provide additional information to loan closing. Again, what I'm hearing in terms of process is that if you applied for this EIDL loan the first week that it launched, you need to reapply again, because that EIDL $10,000 advance button, if you want the advance, you need to go back and reapply and actually check mark that box. If you applied since last Monday, I'm trying to find that date of last Monday here. I feel like time is flying really quickly here. They redid the application last Monday, which was, excuse me, March 30th. So if you applied since March 30th to now, you don't have to reapply. If you've looked at something and looked at a screen similar to this and that's how you applied, you're totally fine. But if you did the prior application, you're going to have to do it all over again, which I know is very painful. So, but know that this is an easy process here. Okay, so that's the EIDL loan. Now, if you've got questions, this is the time that we're going to be asking or answering questions about the EIDL loan. Okay, so please put your information in the chat box, and our good friends at the Women's Foundation are going to be asking those questions of me. Okay.
Okay, Susie, I have some questions for you. From Marissa, she asks, EIDL, PPP, or unemployment for a sole proprietor with no employees? Which one?
I think this is my good friend Marissa Lambert. Yes. So Marissa, you can apply for all of them. So what I would do, I'm told that the unemployment for independent contractors or sole proprietors, that just opened up last Friday. I'm hearing that there are still some struggles with that unemployment system because the paperwork is kind of outdated and is really more geared towards being an employee or an employer. So I'm hearing some kind of hems and haws about the unemployment system for independent contractors and sole proprietors, but you are able to apply for all three of them. And so I would definitely gather your information because you're going to have to show documentation of the income you had. So with the EIDL, again, they're looking for documentation up to January 30th, 2020. For the PPP and the unemployment, PPP, they're looking at 2019 averages. And then for unemployment, they're going to make you upload your most recent statements. So it is important that you just have everything updated in your case. So you can apply for all three.
Okay, thank you. Sadie says, I submitted the EIDL and this is the response. Your recent COVID-19 economic injury disaster loan application has been received. Please reapply at the following website to complete your self-certification. And it has the website. Can you explain that?
Yeah, Sadie, I'm wondering if you applied prior to March 30th. I'm kind of looking in the notes here to see if you did or not. But yeah, I'm hearing that people are asked to reapply if you applied prior to March 30th, that you need to reapply under this particular website for the EIDL.
Okay. And then from Eric, we have been approved for a PPP, but there's a question about whether we'll be eligible for forgiveness as 4 equal share owners in an S Corp.
Okay, I think I know who this is too. This is
Audio Artisans.
Audio Artisans, yes, thank you. Okay, so for you guys should be totally fine, Lax, about this. So what I need to understand is if they actually called you or contacted you guys, because if they haven't, then I would just hang tight. If they have contacted you, I'm happy to just talk with you offline about that to kind of figure out what's going on.
Okay. Lindsay has a question. She wonders how likely it is that EIDL will be available because it feels like it's pretty flooded with applications. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I know. This is why I keep trying to talk to people about this. Apply. Just go ahead and get in there and apply. That's why I'm asking. This application should take you less than 30 minutes if you have your financials done. Go ahead and apply. It's worth getting in there. And then again, the first thing that most likely you will see is a pull on your credit. So I would just go ahead and apply and don't worry about the money running out. Everyone is bogged down, so it's, you know, the system's going to do the best it can, but it's worth getting your name in the hat for it.
And then I have a question from Nancy, who says she actually applied on Monday, so not sure if she should reapply.
That was Sadie?
No, Nancy.
Oh, Nancy, no, if it was Monday, March 30th, and if you applied on the application I showed you today, you should be good to go. If you applied on a different application, then yes, you need to reapply.
Okay. And Sadie says that she did apply before the 30th, so perhaps that was the issue, huh?
Yep, so she needs to reapply on this. I know it's painful, but the other program actually was way painful. The old application was way worse than this one. So anyway, but I'm going back to Lax's question about audio arsons. Now I'm looking at it in the chat box. I could open it up now, and it says, their question of whether they are eligible for forgiveness as 4 equal shareholders. Yes, you guys should be totally fine as an S Corp. You guys are just going to have to show documentation of the income that that was given to you guys as draws. I can't remember if you guys are on payroll or draws, but you guys are both fine. You guys are all fine to do this. So this shouldn't be a problem at all. Go to your lender and they're going to be able to help you with that. And I'll be talking more about the PPP here in a second.
Okay, I'm going to give you one more, and then I also just wanted to let everybody know that Susie has generously offered to respond to people individually afterwards as well, and you'll have that contact info in case we don't get to everybody's questions in the webinar. But I thought I would ask you this one real quick, Susie. Somebody's asking, they officially launched their business in late 2019, just started generating revenue and income in February. And so they're in a tough spot, but don't have a lot of financial history. Do you think that they'll be eligible?
For the EIDL loan, they are using income through January 30th, 2020, 31st, sorry, 2020. So you can certainly apply for it. There's no harm in applying for the EIDL loan. I'm going to be very honest with all of you. There's no harm in applying for it. Remember, it is a loan that you're applying for. Portions of the EIDL loan, a majority of it is not forgiven. You are signing up for a loan. So you can apply for it. You had registered as a business in 2019. You're going to be fine. So you can qualify for that. For the PPP loan, which is what I'm going to be talking to you about that in a second, you're just going to use a different equation with your lender to apply for the PPP loan. Again, as much money as you brought in, you probably aren't going to get that. You may not get access to that much funding in general, just because if you didn't make that much money in 2019 or 2020, it's going to be tough to kind of show that you had a loss of income when you weren't making that much. So yes, apply for the EIDL loan. There's no harm in it. Have your financials ready to go. I just walked you through the entire application. So as you will see, they aren't making you upload anything when you are applying for the EIDL loan. That conversation happens later with the loan officers. And so know that, again, those are the conversations you'll have one-on-one with an SBA loan officer from the actual SBA with the EIDL.
Okay. And then this one kind of seems like it goes along with that, so I'm just going to ask real quick. Somebody said that First Security Bank had told them that PPP is not available if one's business doesn't show payroll. However, the eligibility indicates it could be used for rent and mortgage, and maybe you're going to get to that later. But
yeah, we'll talk about that in the PPP here.
Okay. Okay. So I think we got a lot of them in any case, and I don't want to cut into your time for the PPP. So why don't you carry on? And folks, if you have other questions, do put them in the chat. Both Susie and I can review them, and you can contact her later with more questions too. Does that sound good, Susie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, here's the CARES Act. So part of the CARES Act is, well, the CARES Act itself was just under 900 pages, so it was quite a lengthy document. And so a portion of that was the Paycheck Protection Program. And so here's the actual website. It's this SBA website where it just goes through this particular program that's being covered under the CARES Act, and that money is coming from the CARES Act. So there's some more background information from you. Here is the Paycheck Protection Program final rule. So if you have any questions about if you qualify, here's a 31-page document that is being sent to lenders, which are the bankers that are doing these things, that is answering a lot of the questions for us. And so for those of us, because we do a lot of lending at Prospera too, we're not actually doing lending for the PPP. I want to be honest about that and clear about that. We do other lending, we do gap financing. So I have spent a lot of time looking at this final rule just because we do a lot of lending, and this can answer a lot of your questions too. So here are some particular websites that I trust. I also want to mention that I don't trust that many websites right now. Most of the websites out there are basically interpretations of these paycheck protection programs and the EIDL loans. I only trust a few websites, and I'm going to tell you which ones. The SBA.gov, the Treasury.gov is the second one, and the third one I've been trusting is the U.S. Senate on Small Business and Enterprise. It's the Senate committee that's led by Marco Rubio. They've got a really great website, and I've been looking to them for information as well, just because they were the ones that are a huge part of this CARES Act and the Small Business Relief Program. So there are very few websites I am trusting right now. So I'm going to be very honest about that. So I'm going to go through some FAQs that I received as an SBA affiliate to go through all these things with you guys, so you guys know what the deal is, okay? I don't typically teach like this. I am typically an interactive teacher, so this is hard for me, but I am going to be just kind of talking through these slides with you guys, okay? So first, Paycheck Protection Program, they've authorized $349 billion for this in forgivable loans. Like I said, not everything you're applying for potentially can be forgiven. So this is just the forgivable portion. The loan proceeds are used to cover payroll costs, mortgage interest, rent, and utility costs over the 8-week period after the loan is made, and employee and compensation levels are maintained. I'll go through that. Payroll costs are capped at $100,000 on an annualized basis for each employee. Due to likely high subscription, it is anticipated that not more than 25% of the forgiven amount may be for non-payroll costs. So for instance, if you're applying for a loan and you have all these rent costs, utility costs, things like that, if your payroll costs don't account for most of that, then they're only going to forgive 25% of that. And I've got an equation for you, I'll show you. Loan payments will be deferred for the 6 months. I talked about that earlier. When can I apply? So starting last Friday, you could apply as a small business or a sole proprietor. Oh, whoops, sorry. And then starting this Friday, you can apply as a nonprofit, independent contractor, or self-employed individual. Now, this fact sheet is available through treasury.gov. I'm also mentioning that too. This exact file here. So know that you can go directly to the Treasury's website to see this information. Next page. Where can I apply? Again, the PPP loan is through an SBA approved lending organization. So most of the banks in Montana qualify. Like I said, a lot of the credit unions are not SBA approved already. Some of them are trying to become approved, and so they haven't been able to take applications. So again, credit unions I haven't really seen participating, but for the most part, most lenders are able to help you. And if, like I said, if you have I've actually gotten this call 4 or 5 times this week. So let's say you've got your accounts with a credit union and they aren't taking applications. In order for you to be going to another lender that is approved, the consistency I'm hearing from all the lenders is that you're going to be, once you get approved for the loan, you have to be prepared to move your accounts to that institution. They are not going to go through all that work for non-clients, basically, is what I'm hearing. So know that you may have to switch banks. If you're in Southwest Montana, I've been working closely with all of the banks here, and I'm happy to point you in the right direction if you are one of those people that can't find someone to help you apply. Again, who can apply? All businesses, including nonprofits, veterans organizations, tribal businesses concerns, sole proprietorships, self-employed individuals, and independent contractors with 500 or few employees. Next slide. What do I need to apply? You will need to complete the Paycheck Protection Program loan application and submit the application with the required documentation to an approved lender that is available to process your application. Know that these lenders are working around the clock to get these things submitted for you. I know every single one of them was working all last weekend. The SBA system was down quite a bit this last weekend, so there may be a lag in time when you're getting approval, but I'm seeing that approval happen within 3 to 4 days, sometimes a lot sooner, depending on how quickly this or how well the system is working for that bank. So know that they are working hard for you. So please be patient with them. I know I saw some questions come through that they applied on Monday and they haven't heard yet. Be patient. And if the lender has not gotten back to you, it doesn't mean that they're avoiding you. It just means that they are so busy right now. So reach out to another lender, maybe within the same institution, or give them a call instead of emailing them. A lot of the lenders I've been talking to are actually working in their banks. Some of them are working remotely, but some of them are actually in the bank, so you can call them directly. What other documents do I need? You're going to need payroll documentation. So for those of you, I'm getting a ton of questions about this. Do I qualify? So basically, you know, you're going to have to show your Schedule C. If you are an LLC, you're going to have to show 1099s if you're an independent contractor. If you are an employer, you're going to need to have payroll reports. You need to have documentation. Let's say you're just doing owner draws. That's totally fine. You need to show the documentation that you've received those draws. So find that paperwork, and then that's what you're going to need to show your lenders. Do I first need to look for other funds before I apply for this program? No, we are waiving the usual SBA requirements. So typically when you're applying for a loan, they've got a full page full of requirements. They're pretty much waiving a lot of that. So it's easy now. How long will this program last? It's going to last through June 30th. So again, be patient. Yes, it is some first come, first serve money out there, but please be patient. Know that everybody's doing the best they can. And this is the week 1. It hasn't even been open for a week yet. So be patient. Again, you can get one loan under this. Let's see here. I hear a buzzing here, so sorry about that. When can I use these loans for? You should use the proceeds from these loans on your payroll costs, benefits, interest on mortgage obligations before February 15th. You can mute your mic, that'd be great. Your lease agreements enforced before February 15th. The one question I'm getting a lot is that, let's say you work from home and you want to get part of your rent forgiven on your home to run your business. Unless you have like a contract in place with yourself and your business showing what you are going to be paying yourself, it's very difficult to get that rent forgiven. So I'm being honest about that. You know, if you work at home and you have utilities that you want to get covered now, that's not the case. That's not what this is for. This is for your business, and for actual transactions that are happening at the business level, not just like, you know, hey, I was just paying myself utilities once in a while. You're going to want to see some real documentation. If you can mute your mic, I'm getting some feedback on that. I'm seeing a couple people with their mics off. So if you can mute your mic, that'd be great. What counts as payroll costs here? So salary, wages, commissions, or tips capped at $100,000. Employee benefits, including costs for vacation, parental, family, medical, or sick leave, allowance for separation or dismissal, payments required for the provisions of group healthcare insurance benefits, and payment for any retirement benefit. Again, a lot of questions about this, and yes, for the most part, things qualify. So this is a really great program here. Here also, payroll costs for state and local taxes you can get forgiven, not federal. I'm getting that question a lot. It's just state and local. For a sole proprietor or independent contractor, wages, commissions, income, or net earnings from self-employment capped at $100,000 or annualized or on an annualized basis. Does the PPP cover sick leave? Yes, that is included in your payroll costs. So yes, it does include that. How large can my loan be? Loans can be up for 2 months of your average monthly payroll costs from the last year plus an additional 25% of that amount. That amount is subject to a $10 million cap. If you are a seasonal or new business, you will use different applicable time periods for your calculation. And I'm going to go through those time periods with you in just a second here. How much of my loan will be forgiven? You will owe money when your loan is due if you use the loan amount for anything other than payroll costs, mortgage interest, rent, and utility payments over the 8 weeks after getting the loan. Due to the likely high subscription, it is anticipated that not more than 25% of the forgiven amount may be for non-payroll costs. So that's the key here. You will also owe money if you do not maintain your staff or payroll. Number of staff, level of payroll, rehiring, all those things. So you'll have up to June 30th to restore your full-time employees and bring them back at that same level that they were at. So you're going to have that time period to get those people back up and running. How can I request loan forgiveness? This has been a lot of talk on the lending part of it because this is a lot of work for them. You can submit a request to a lender that is servicing your loan. The request will include documents that verify the number of full-time equivalent employees and pay rates, as well as the payments on eligible mortgage, lease, and utility obligations. You must certify that the documents are true and that you use the forgiveness amount to keep employees and make eligible mortgage interest, rent, and utility payments. The lender must make a decision on the forgiveness within 60 days. Now remember, you are accruing interest during this time period, and the interest rate is only 1%, but just know that this is a loan. Until it's forgiven, it's a loan and you are required to pay it back. What's my interest rate? 1%. When do I need to start paying? All payments are deferred for 6 months. However, interest will continue to accrue over this period. When is my loan due? 2 years. Can I pay the loan earlier? Yes. Do I need to pledge any collateral? No. Do I need to personally guarantee this loan? No. That's incredible. What do I need to self-certify? Current economic uncertainty makes the loan unnecessary to support your ongoing operations. This is where it's getting a little tricky for people that maybe just started up and they didn't make much income. This is where I'm seeing it get a little bit tricky for banks to prove this, but I have yet to hear a bank, I'm yet to hear a loan actually get denied at this point. So, but I am hearing some questions a lot about this. The funds will be used to retain workers and maintain payroll or to make mortgage, lease, or utility payments. You have not or will not receive another loan under this program. So again, you can only apply for one loan program, and you will provide to the lender documentation that verifies the number of full-time equivalent employees on payroll and dollar amounts of payroll costs covered. Mortgage interest payments covered, rent payments, and covered utility payments for the 8 weeks after getting this loan. So again, you're going to have to show documentation. Loan forgiveness will be provided for the sum of documented payroll costs. Again, I said local and state only, not federal. Covered mortgage interest payments, covered rent payments, covered utilities. Due to the likely high subscription, only 25% or more will be forgiven for any amount that is for non-payroll costs. Again, these are just some self-certifying things. It's pretty easy going. Again, you're going to work on all this with your lender. But now I'm going to actually walk through the application. I'm trying to be as quick as I can because I know it's 2:15 here. So here's the key here. You need to be able to file for one of these: sole proprietor, partnership, C Corp, S Corp, LLC, independent contractor, self-employed individual, 501c3 nonprofit, 501c19, or a tribal business here. So these are the people that qualify. If you are not one of these things, you do not qualify. Again, it's a lot of the exact same information you saw in the EIDL. Here is the actual amount that shows up here on the application through the SBA. This is the actual SBA application. You can see I've got the website form here for you. But the average monthly payroll you put right here for 2019, and you multiply it by 2.5 plus your EIDL loan. If you got an advance on that, that goes here, and then you put your number of employees here. As you can see, it's very easy going. You're going to be checking all these boxes here with your lender because I'm guessing you're going to try to get all those things reduced or forgiven. And then you're going to list all your owners here at 20% or more in equity. So this is a lot like the EIDL loan. Here's a sample that I received from a lender here in Bozeman that they're kind of having their business clients kind of fill out ahead of time so that they can kind of get themselves a little bit more more prepared for this application. So they're basically having them include the employee names, salary and wages for that person, the paid leave that they paid in 2019, the group health benefit costs here. I'm hearing that, of course, the premiums can be included in that. I've also heard that actually right down here, it says, let's see here, paid medical insurance premiums, medical reimbursement plans, wellness reimbursement plans, and HSA contributions. Like for instance, I get an HSA because I don't get group health benefits from our organization because I get them through my husband's company. They would put here my HSA contribution in 2019. Here are all the retirement benefits that the company has paid. It's only the employer portion of it, not how much the employee has paid for it. The state taxes on the unemployment insurance, that goes here. And then it calculates a total compensation. And then again, if you are at $100,000 or more, that's when that gets subtracted, is over here. This is just a sample of what I'm seeing some of the lending institutions doing. Not all of them are doing this. And so if you don't see this, do not fret. This is just an example of the things that I'm seeing from some of the lending organizations, okay? So again, that's just a sample. Again, I'm going back to the application. They're gonna ask you some questions here. Number 1 and number 2 are pretty important here because if you answer yes, you're not qualified. Are you presently suspended or debarred? If you click yes, you don't qualify. If you, let's see here, this is the bankruptcy one, obtain a guaranteed loan from this currently delinquent, or if you, no, I'm sorry, this is not the bankruptcy one, I'm sorry about that. The bankruptcy one is up here if you're presently involved in a bankruptcy. Here is if you've been delinquent on a SBA loan in the past, you do not qualify. Okay, all the rest of these are some questions about your organization. And again, I'm gonna try to go through this a little bit quicker than I normally do just because I wanna end on time. But again, they're gonna ask you some questions about your organization. Here, you're gonna do a lot of self-certifying, just saying that I agree to all these things. This is what's true and lawful. And so you're just agreeing upon things here. Again, these are more self-certification. Sorry about that. I didn't even know that my computer could do that. So the authorized representative of the applicant needs to initial all these items and put right here. If you have multiple owners, I'm hearing that both owners need to apply or need to put their initials here. Again, this is kind of the key here. The only section here that, I mean, all of it's just kind of repeat information, but here, this is important. For purposes of calculating the average monthly payroll, most applicants will use the average monthly payroll for 2019, excluding costs over $100,000 on an annualized basis for each employee. For seasonal businesses, the applicant may elect to instead use average monthly payroll for a time period between February 15th to June 30th of 2019. Excluding costs over $100,000 on an annualized basis for each employee. For a new business, average monthly payroll may be calculated using the time period from January 1st to February 29th, excluding costs over $100,000. I know we talked about that, but if you are a new business, let's say you started after June 30th, I would go ahead and use this information right here. That is what the banks have been doing. So just to understand what you can calculate out, use this information here. Again, more privacy acts and things like that. Again, more information. And then here we go. I'm guessing we're going to get a ton of questions about this. So I'm going to try to be as quick as I can. I know it's 2:19 and I want to be aware of time here. So let's go ahead and start with those questions.
Great. Thanks, Susie. I don't know if you can see some of these now or not.
Yeah, I can.
But we'll just start. Can you see Marissa's question about applying for EIDL and PPP? So
yeah, you mentioned applying for both EIDL and PPP. Then under the PPP, it said that you cannot. It doesn't say that you cannot. It just says that you need to disclose that you did it for the EIDL. It doesn't make you disqualified. So you can go ahead and apply, Marissa, for both. And that, again, the EIDL loan is the one that you're going to do on your own. And the PPP is the one that you're going to call your local banker about applying for it. Heidi is asking, what you pay independent contractors count as payroll? Okay, I'm getting this question a ton. Since independent contractors can apply for themselves, they are saying that unless you issue them a W-2 at any point of 2019, you should have that independent contractor apply for themselves. That is what I'm hearing from the lenders. Okay, I'm going to go up the line here. From Catherine Jordan Augusto, the categories I had to choose from did not fit my business. I have a gyrotonic business. It's a personal health and fitness realm. I would just do the best you can to find personal health or fitness. These things are called, where they're pulling from are things called NAICS codes. It's a tax term that people fill out. And things like gyrotonic businesses would never show up in any of those things. So find health and wellness, find anything that has to do with wellness, and you should be just fine. Don't let that stop you from applying if you don't have something that pops up. It's just simply because of tax descriptions that you aren't, most industries do not show up unless you're a very common one. Okay, Deborah Dunham, my friend who's an accountant said, that it's now going to take 3 weeks instead of 3 days, which the site says. Yes, that's true. I am hearing that, you know, I have yet to see anyone in Montana get the EIDL loan, or I'm sorry, I'm guessing you're talking about, well, for either one of them, I'm seeing things take a lot longer than originally was kind of advertised as. Please be patient. It is going to take a long time. Like I said, I'm still seeing things that haven't been even looked at yet, and you're just getting yourself in the queue here. Okay, Jeff. I think I kind of skipped over Jeff's here, sorry. Regarding unemployment, I began applying and it took me to questions regarding a job search, not what I expected. Yes, I know, this is what's really making people struggle. Don't worry about it. I can't remember what the question says exactly, Jeff, but go ahead and move forward. With the CARES Act, they are waiving that you need to be looking for a job as you're applying for this. So just move forward, answer the easiest question that you can, or whatever I cannot specifically remember what the drop down allows you to say here, but keep moving forward. That part has been waived, so don't worry about that. From Lindsay Peterson, oh sorry, it kind of keeps bouncing around here. How likely is it to get to the EIDL with so many people applying? We already answered that. So please get your name in there. I mean, there's no harm in this, folks. And so go ahead and get your name in there. Don't worry about it. Again, it may take a few weeks. So just be patient. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. Good, Jeff. That's great. Molly, great to hear from you. Can we cover part-time employees? I kept hearing full-time. It's full-time is what I'm hearing too, Nancy. I have asked for clarification on this multiple times, Nancy, and I can write a note back to you, but I'm hearing full-time as well. But I will follow up with you, Nancy. I'm writing that down. Sorry, it kind of keeps jumping around in there. I know this webinar is for 501c3s and small businesses, but do you know of resources for 501c8? You know what, Gail, I'm so sorry. They are not turning out as an organization that is qualifying for any of these things. So I know that there are lots of organizations that are wondering what they're going to do. Gail, you can send me a note if you want to, and I'll try to do more digging on that. I've asked this question from the local SBA office a couple times, and actually the SBA director just called me while I was on this webinar, so I'm hoping he has some answers for me that I've been asking him. So I'm hoping to let you know if there's something that comes up on that, okay? Let's see here. Lindsay also said the EIDL loan is also noted to be a grant. Is this not true? I thought this was forgivable. Well, more documentation has shown up. So my friend Lindsay, so what they are saying is that the advance can be forgiven potentially, the advance that you are getting in your bank account. But again, if you apply for more, that is an actual loan. And so that is a conversation you will have with your SBA lender directly about what potentially will be forgiven and what will not be forgiven. Okay, Courtney, I have a friend trying to get on the call, but may not make it. Her husband works in the film industry and was already on unemployment when the movie got canceled. And let's see here, there's some typos here. Should he reapply in addition to these options? He's both W-2 and 1099. Oh, Courtney, this is a really, really tough one. I hate to send him to the 1-800 number, but with unemployment, but he's got a call. I don't know the answer to that because everything was expanded. I don't know if they're going to make him reapply or not. Since he was already on it, I don't know. I'm getting specialized questions like that about people who have got people on visas and things like that. And the unemployment office is the only place you can call on that question. So unfortunately, they have to call the 1-800 number. If you're in Montana, though, they are getting on the line within 45 minutes. I know that seems like an eternity, but just make the best of it and give them a call about that. Okay, I know I've got some private questions coming through about eligibility. I can take care of those later, or just send me an email, please. Heidi asks, is the PPP loan for the amount you pay yourself as the owner wage? Yes, it can be used for that. So let's say you're an LLC, the amount that the company paid you essentially should show up as a Schedule C on your taxes. So you just have to have documentation showing what you paid yourself as an owner wage. Some people, they end up covering themselves as an actual employee, so it's easy to pull those pay reports. If you are not paid as an employee and you just took draws, you just have to show documentation for that, and that is something that your lender will be asking you for, that backup information. So I think that's it for questions. I know I've got a couple private messages. It's going to be hard for me to grab those right after this webinar. So please just send those notes directly to me, and I'm going to do the best I can to get back to you with your actual questions. So yeah, any other last minute questions? You can go ahead and throw them in the chat box.
Susie, thank you. That was amazing. That was like fast and furious. It was like all the information we needed as quickly as possible, which was great. People are asking, will it be recorded? Yes, it was recorded. I'm going to send it out in an email to all the folks who are registered for this, as well as have it on our website, and Susie will have it too. Of course, as Susie said, you can contact her privately afterward, and here is her contact info. Perfect. In addition, of course, you can always get a hold of us at the Women's Foundation. Basically, what we do is try and connect people to the resources they need. So I don't have the information about applying, but I can connect you to Susie and others who hopefully can help. And so that's what we're all about. And I just want to say one more time, thanks so much, Susie. I know you're working so hard right now to get as many people as possible the resources they need, and we appreciate you. So. You're
welcome. Well, folks, I'm going to do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. We are leading webinars on this almost daily, for sometimes through Prospera or through other organizations, just because the information I'm getting is updating almost every day from SBA. So please know I'm doing my best to answer the questions, but in some cases I'm just saying you got to talk to your lender, because I'm hearing kind of different things from different lenders. So please be patient, folks. I know we're all kind of anxious to get a hold of this money, but know that it's happening, and just focus on your financials, focus on the things you have control over, and then do the best you can with the other things. So thank you all so much.
Yep. Take care, everybody. Be safe. And we're in this together. So we'll get through. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.